horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a very warm welcome. Yes, it's that time of week again. It is Sunday sermon time, and we've got a terrific show lined up for you tonight. Some uber topics that need talking about, really. And as always, joining me to chew the fat is my favourite duo. It's Chris Law-Melver and, of course, my partner in crime, Jonas Lang. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, right. First of all, I thought before we go on to racing review, I'd like to bring up my racing week, because when everyone says everything goes swimming for really bad drawdowns and things like that, this week was horrific for me. A big drop on my betting bank, so much so that it got to a stage where I had a bit of a meltdown Friday night, mentally as well. It's a big pressure game, this, when you've got bills to pay. So Friday was the bad day, and it messed my head up a bit. So it resulted in me not playing at all Saturday and Sunday. But there is a story behind this, I'll get there, is that the Saturday, I'm so glad that I didn't play and I just took time out for my own head, etc. Even though it's Cambridge today, some fantastic racing. I had some opinions on the day. I won't say strong opinions, but some decent ones. But I think, Chris, and you know punters will relate to this.
Yep.
There was a race Saturday at Haydock.
Ooh.
205.
Pain.
Yeah, Sir William. We put it out as a 2-point max early bird selection at 2-1.
Yep.
It went off a well bet fav. We beat the fav. We were right about the fav.
Yep.
And then you pull 5.5 lengths clear of the third horse. You go 1-1 in running and get done on the line by a debutant, Carlton Palmer's.
Yep.
I think after that, if I'd have played that, had the suffering of that, I think I'd have got on till.
Yeah. There'd only be two of us on this podcast and it wouldn't be you, would it?
I think I'd have got on till. I really do. I was that enraged watching it without a bet on it, because obviously I can't get the overnight prices. And the fact I took myself out of the game for the day. So in a way, having all the bad luck this week, I've had the good luck by making a decision, by having a meltdown and making a decision not to bet. And that was it. I'm certain I'd have gone on till after that. I was that.
Yeah.
It's one of them, innit, where you've got this, we've got this. Yeah, no problem. We're clear. And then last 50 yards, it's like,
he's weak as piss, though, wasn't he? Fuck it. Now, he couldn't ride a fucking bike, could he?
I don't know if I share that, because he did manage to switch the whip and he changed leads, which I always ask any jockey to do. If you can do that and switch leads. I just think horse has ran it out of its skin. It's just ran into.
The old pens would be hitting the screen in a betting shop if I was there. Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
You know, wasn't it?
The Jamaicans in the corner, John, would be going,
Russ Clut. Your bumper clut ting, innit?
John, you suffered pain on that race as well, didn't you?
Yes, I backed that one, and I also backed Antelope Canyon at when odds on in running against the Baby Joseph horse. There will be two main players on Saturday. Both went odds on. I didn't get paid, but I resisted the temptation to blow my face off last night because I had to come here and do this.
Exactly. And I was the same. I was sat motionless all day, just in a different world. And I'm thinking, it's sermon time. You've got to get yourself up for it. So this is why we do it. We do it for you lads and lasses out there to listen to us ramble on for an hour. So look, that's what it is. And I'd recommend it to anyone, though. It is right what they said, when the fun stops, stop. Because I actually do feel better for 2 days.
The fun stopped 15 years ago, like.
Did actually.
Fun never fucking started, honestly.
Yeah, well, that. But I do recommend to any players out there, and I'm not sounding like these safer gambling pieces of shit out there, but it is good just to have time out now and again and just reset yourself, because I actually feel like I want to be back playing tomorrow, if I can. There's opportunities out there. So I think that's it.
Even if you just sit and put the stopwatch on and say how long it takes your nose to stop bleeding or something.
Yeah, that. Right, we'll move on. I'm sure everyone's bored of that by now. We'll come on to a few races on Saturday. We've stopped doing the extensive racing reviews because obviously they're boring, aren't they? Everyone gets bored. We know you do. We know you skip past this bit anyway. Right, so coming on to Newmarket Saturday, John, we'll go
Yeah.
through 4 races, starting with the Royal Lodge. I was pleased that because we've been banging the drum, haven't we, about the Aiken form being possibly the best
have.
line of form for the 2-year-olds this season, and it didn't let us down as Wimbledon Hawkeye thumped them. Wandered about as well, and will probably, I would think, probably go off nearly favourite for the Futurity. Would you think?
Obviously, it depends what Harry Potter turns up with, I would have thought, but wouldn't be far off favourite for the ever likeable Gredleys.
No, and talking of the Futurity, us on Bar Steward's Edge this morning put out an anti-post bet on the Paul and Ollie Coltrane seaplane for the Futurity, with good reason as well. It was completely ignored in the market this morning. I think it was like 33s, Bet365, 28s, and then 25s general. It's an amazing price when you consider that on the race on Friday, it was only a novice race, but John, you've earmarked this as an impressive specimen. You even said on the day you fancied it quite strongly to win that maiden. It didn't just win the maiden, it blitzed them 4.5, 4 lengths and 9.5 lengths, recording a time figure of, 106 time form, which is in effect 99 with the £7 adjustment. So 99, you nailed it in 3 figures, John, and there was more in the tank. It was 1.2 seconds quicker than the Rockfell.
He was all set to go in June. He was entered up for the Chesham at the 4-day stage, and he didn't run. He was taken out at the last minute. And I was quite prepared to back him in the Chesham. I thought he had a hell of a good chance going into that race. And I liked the fact that Cole thought he had enough seasoning on him to go for something like that at that stage of the season. I think the fact that he'll probably run in the Futurity with like 4 months extra under his belt, I can only say that as a positive.
There's nothing not to like on the clock or visually. The only negatives we can come up with, if we're being sort of trying to play devil's advocate,
Paul Cole would be one, wouldn't it? That would be the major.
yeah, just keeping it back. It would be the fact that it was done at Newmarket, where it's a front runner's track, especially
Plus, they've
with
probably
Wimby
got
out.
it in their heads that he needs to front run now.
Doncaster obviously stepping up to the mile, because he is quite key. He wants to get on with it. If the wind blows, of course, in a southwesterly direction, you're running directly into a headwind and Spencer country. So it's not the place to be on the front end. So there are negatives in terms of why you'd want a back seaplane, especially the price is coming to 16s now, I think, best price. I still think seaplane, and it will turn up on the day, they have confirmed that that's the next target, all being well. I would say the field always seems to cut up for the Futurity in recent times. Last 4 runnings, I think 8 runners or less. I still think 16s is big. You won't get that on the day. The big favourite, the Lion in Winter, that's going to go in for the Dewhurst, which leaves, I think, Wimbledon Hawkeye will probably go for the Futurity over the Dewhurst. That'll be fab, and probably Harry Potter's main one, maybe Acapulco Bay, something like that, will probably head the market. So, but I still think that'll be 8s or 10s on the day. If you did sort of think, well, I want an interest in that, 16s, I still think it's a little bit big, because the Time Lords will be all over that on the day. The Time Lords in the TARDIS. That's what we've sort of sorted out for our Patreon members today. But moving on then to the review. So we've just covered the Royal Lodge, where we suitably impressed, I'd say, me and John, with the winner, the Aiken form. But we move on to the Cheveley Park, which was probably the most impressive winner of the day for me in terms of time, form, and Lake Victoria, John. I'm so impressed at how Aidan gets his fillies throughout. You look at them throughout the years. His fillies don't seem to bomb out as much as the colts. He seems to get the fillies to keep backing up, improving, progressing. This one in particular, Lake Victoria, nice specimen, but this was silly a career best, I think, by a mile.
I think the thing is that comes from a band of brood mares that are so proven to be hardy runners.
Yeah.
Stand the racing well. I mean, that's a big proviso for Magnia when it comes to brood mares. They have to show that resilience and the ability to take racing. And I think he's in a situation now where he's just getting crop after crop of these fillies that you could basically throw anything at them and they just come back for more. You know, it's just hellish bloodlines.
I was surprised to see him come back from 7 to 6. She had
Yeah.
absolutely no problem whatsoever. At 7, she looked strong at the line. So you think, well, you look strong at the line over 7. You've just been dropped in trip and put them all to the sword. And by the way, a quicker time than the Middle Park. So it's there. And obviously she's been supported into favourite for the Phillies Classic next May. So, John, what is your take on her for next season? Do you like her physically? Is it something you could see making a decent 3-year-old filly?
I mean, she's out of that one onto a winner there, isn't she? Quiet Reflection, the sprinter, I believe. But she's sort of thrown all sorts, really. She threw the equator, for God's sake. So I tend to think the sire governs the stamina index on her offspring, you know. So I don't see a mile being any problem whatsoever for her. You know, I mean, you wouldn't stop her when she was winning over 7 anyway.
Yeah.
She's basically got enough in the bank now to go very close in a average 1,000 guineas, hasn't she? She's rated 112 going into that yesterday. They'll probably bang her up, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'd say 5. Yeah.
She's basically got enough in the bank to turn up at Market next May as probably a well bet favourite, really, off the back of that. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't roll out these turning up in the Bosack next weekend with her.
I know. This is it. She's still got. I'm just looking at her entries. Still got a Phillies Mile entry on the 11th. That's only 12, 13 days away. So yeah, I won't be surprised if they went Phillies Mile, just to see if she gets a mile and does that think right? Well,
just because they can.
Yeah, I think they'll go for that. I think they will. Moving on to your horse, Arabian Dusk, the Crisfords. You're not happy with them, are you?
No.
They've ruined the other one that they had, the nice one.
Well, she's just missing in action, isn't she? So
Is this another one?
Well, yeah, a nice type like that, and she's not missed a dance, has she? She'll probably start next season 8 in the game, I would think.
Yeah, sour.
Heading that way, I would think.
Yeah. Moving on to Middle Park, Whistle Jacket, enough for the season? Sort of like, is that him just like running really flat after being busy? He's been on good since April.
As I mentioned on the as I mentioned on the preview show, I think Whistle Jacket's next year's River Tiber. He'll be the one that turns up at the party that nobody wants to talk to. I don't think that was a great Middle Park by any stretch.
No, I don't.
Shadow of Light's set enough for me. I mean, he makes a nice enough shape now, but I think he lacks a bit of scope. I think we've seen all he's got there. I'd be disappointed if there wasn't 3 or 4 with improve past him over the winter with better Guineas prospects.
Yeah, no, he's off my list as a 3-year-old campaign. I think the first 2, to be honest, I'm not really interested in going forward for next year for top class races. So we'll ignore the Middle Park form and put it in the bin. The Cambridgeshire, well, we did mention it on the podcast about softer ground. It can favour the far side more than the stand side.
And did it?
And that's exactly how it played out in spades. So surely, John, the eye catcher or the one that everyone should be wanting to bet next time is the 8th horse, Waiting All Night, that won the race on the stand side. It's a bit obvious, but it's one of them, isn't it?
Technically, yes. I mean, the one for me that I thought ran a hell of a race in the circumstances was Mr. King.
Oh, yeah.
But trying to lead, he doesn't even like that ground. He wants it rattling fast. And he's had a terrible campaign since he joined Jardine for a Cambridgeshire prospect. He ran every weekend, I think, before turning up to this. I think he'll be wanting to keep an eye on it. Jardine can keep him fresh next season. I think he's still open to some improvement. He's also always liked physically, and I think he could go places if Jardine can keep him right.
Good stuff, Mr. King. And I think Nick likes him, and I think Jack likes. There's quite a few that like him in our group. Fair play. But yeah, it was. If you back the low numbers, I saw a funny tweet from Andrew Mount actually that it sounds like one of mine or one of Chris's. He says he managed to back a low number each way 6 places, and it finished 7th.
Brilliant.
It's just shit, though, isn't it? Really. If you're back in 7th on the right side at track, then get in the bin, Mountie. Only kidding. We move on. Jan Bruegel, I am told reliably off my snout. I don't know if it's broken in the news at the time of recording because obviously I can't check that. But Jan Bruegel is to be Aidan O'Brien's only contender for the Melbourne Cup. He's set off with he's gone out there with his lead horse. They're not running anything else but Jan Bruegel. So I'd be interested, John. Can you remember the last Ledger winner to go straight to a Melbourne Cup?
Oh, God, probably one of them 1700 jobs.
Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head a Ledger winner that's the campaign straight to a Melbourne Cup.
I don't know enough about the Melbourne Cup to even know if 3-year-olds are any good in it.
I know what you mean. It's not a race I particularly study with great vigour, but we still think he's a bit raw, don't we? A bit leery,
I was absolutely convinced the last thing he wanted at that stage of his career was a St Ledger, and I thought he had enough race. So, I mean, I'll say now there's absolutely no way on earth I could consider backing him for a Melbourne Cup. That's not to say I'm right about the horse. I could be completely wrong. They're closer to the horse than what they're doing. It was just after Goodwood, I thought, nah, he's not ready for a Ledger. It'll knock him back if anything. Well, we'll see, won't we?
I've made comments earlier this season about Vauban in the race, and I don't think he genuinely gets a well-run 2 miles. I just don't. He won the Lonsdale, but given another 50 yards, that second would have sauntered past him. He was on fumes, and if it is strongly run, the Melbourne Cup, then I think I'd rather run him at 1.4 miles than 2 miles. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
He's got a lovely bit of toe, travels strongly. I just don't think he's a proper 2 miler, but that's where they're going with it. But Jan Bruegel, I think, it's hard to say. He could struggle with the demands of that race. You know, you're dealing with experienced sort of like handicap group horses, but it's a thoroughly different test to what he's faced so far, winning a small field Gordon and a small field St Ledger, really. I'm not so sure. But like you said, we'll find out, but certainly not a betting proposition. In other news, Struthers goes bananas, John.
Really?
Struthers he's gone mental at the BHA for adding this Sunday meeting at Southwell, where obviously his membership, the jockeys have been complaining. This was a late addition this week to the calendar. And obviously jockeys now, instead of getting a day off with the families, are having to go and ride a shit tip meeting at Southwell. No class racing or anything like that, just like a winter card, if you like. Is Struthers right to say that we have told the BHA before?
It's another example of the class structure in racing, isn't it? Because usually every decision the BHA make, they need 15 consultation committees setting up. But if they're doing anything that affects jockeys or stable lads, rush it through as though they're just dealing with shit cloths that don't have a say about anything.
Well, Paul Struthers sort of highlights the fact that he's told the BHA numerous times that these late additional Sunday fixtures aren't welcome. And he cites the fact that flat jockeys have barely had a Sunday off since, I think July, I think he stated. It's just not good enough.
Well, sadly for Paul, the BHA will probably not just jail jockeys and stable staff as shit cloths, but also anybody who represents them. So I'm not surprised that's falling on stony ground as well.
Mr. Struthers, in his number 53 Beetle today, driving around Iolborn, going bananas at the BHA.
Yeah, got it.
I hope he's listening to this, Paul Struthers. He's a good man. We had the privilege of meeting him at York, and he's a genuinely great guy. To be honest, John, he's one of the few in this industry that's actually trying to do the best for the people he's representing.
One of very few. He's a good man, is Paul, and it's a shame he's not in a key position in the BHA, I would say.
Yeah, a man with a little bit of common sense there.
That's probably why he's not in a key position at the BHA.
Well, precisely, you've answered your own question.
We're going to come on to like some big stuff in a minute regarding Agenda 2026. We'll get onto that in a few moments, but to lead up to that, we can sort of like state the current state of affairs in the game. I find racing is an industry where, being honest, is detrimental to what you need to achieve within the game. We see that on all different fronts and parties. The bookmakers, big corp, are dishonest. The Gambling Commission is certainly dishonest. the BHA, for want of a better word, would rather skirt around the truth and not say anything when they know things are wrong. I just think that's it. Because someone mentioned today about the bloodstock sales and how bent it is, in the bloodstock world. Well, Chris, think about it. If you sort of reared a horse and everything else, aren't you going to tell as many lies as you can
Oh,
to get the best
fuck.
price for that
Oh
horse?
my God, yeah. I'd have a horse with no legs and call it Woodbines because I take it for a drag. Yeah, boom. Oh, but they all do. It's basically it's like the old British car auctions at near Camberley, or used to go to. It is just simply equine car auction, isn't it? That's what it is. You've unless you're Willie Mullins and you don't tend to buy from the sales because you've got private deals. It's caveat emptor. You're being lied to. I think the only decision you've got to make is to how big a liar the vendor is. That's all it is. You know that they're ramped up in terms of the prices, in terms of descriptions. You take your life in your hands, don't you?
Yeah, you've always got to pay someone. It's either a commission agent
Yep.
or there's always a handout from somewhere.
Oh
I've
yeah, I
got
mean, it's
yeah,
full of brokers interposing themselves between the breeder and the ultimate purchaser. There's lots of like middlemen, aren't there, that sort of add what value I've no idea. And I think one of the biggest sinecures in the world is one of these sort of agents that sources these point to point horses for credulous English owners. That must be the easiest game in the world, mustn't it? Selling 200 grand horses for 500 grand to muggy Englishmen. I mean, that's money without work. I just don't. I would love to see the track record of horses that are actually purchased by high profile agents. They always trumpet, oh yes, we sourced this Group 2 winner, etc. But what about the endless lumps of shit that they foisted on mugs that, oh yeah, 600 grand, oh fuck me, it's got no legs, never mind. I found another one for you, 700 grand. I'd love to see their track record, and I guarantee it will be horrific. I would imagine that anyone could pick better than some of these people. Just a child, just blindly picking things out of a catalogue.
I reckon there's someone out there with that data. Actually, I reckon
Okay.
someone that's shrewd, pinups, or does anything like
Yeah.
in the game. That's the first thing I'd look at. I'd look at all the bloodstock agents and
Yeah.
what they've bought. In other words, that's their recommendation.
Yes.
Or not necessarily the recommendation, but because sometimes they can just get told to buy them.
Yeah, of course.
If the vendor can't attend. But most of the time, that will be their recommendation to their customer, and of which I think they charge. I think some that I know of charge 5%
yes.
of the sale price. So if you buy something at 40 grand
yes.
at Tats, it's what, 2 grand to said agent. That's not a bad crack, I don't think.
No.
By any means.
Yeah. And especially if you've got a great book of clients that are prepared to pull up 6 figures every time, and that's a fucking good living. And as long as you can find
the bloodstock agent's family, though, because if they hadn't been incredibly stupid, they'd have been able to get them a job in the city.
Well, there is that, or the army, the city, or the clergy. Those are the three, aren't they? That's well, they used to send the dumb sons of the landed gentry. But I'd love to see that. And you're right, the smart people will take that into account, etc. And will keep their own kind of records on that. But you look at these people are idiots, a lot of them, aren't they? They're bluffers, and they're doing side deals with the breeders, etc. And you can almost guarantee, without any evidence, because it happens, that these horses are well marked up, aren't they? Particularly from Ireland.
The point-to-point scene in Ireland certainly avoid for the novice
Yeah.
punter. If you're a novice punter trying to buy an Irish pointer, I would avoid.
Don't.
That,
don't buy scratch cards. You get more value. You really would, because you will be turned over. And at the point at which you're not turned over, you've already done X million quid in cold blood. So you pay to learn, don't you?
You do. Hermes TFK has been on, and he said on these lines, he says, can you discuss Goffs and Tats? So Goffs and Tattersalls.
Yep.
Why aren't they owned by Racing? Why hasn't Racing got its own stamp on the sales ring, for example? A percentage of the turnover towards prize money of these sales would be very handy. To be honest, I made this case on a show a while back, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Right, we seem to have ditched claiming races in the calendar. I think that's bent because the sales houses don't want claiming races and
Nope.
selling races because they want them to turn up at the sales and earn commission on them.
Yeah.
Right? I genuinely think that's why we've seen the disappearance of claiming races
You
in
don't
the
need
calendar.
you don't need anything to do with tracks getting plenty for media rates now, and just thinking, no, we don't need the aggro.
Yeah, because they're getting plenty from. They don't protest at that fact.
No.
Because there's plenty of money coming in from that. But yet again, the owners are let down because the number of times I owned a horse and I thought, do you know what? This horse has reached its plateau now, and I want to run it in sols and claimers. Like
Yeah.
I can't win off this mark without, well, for want of a better word, stopping it for 6 months and then 6 months training fees and then trying to get a bet on. It's a case of, right, let's go for this claimer or seller because then I know I'm probably going to be top rated in it and fav. And then you might get someone wanting to pay 10 grand for a bit of fun. And that's how I got rid of them. It worked. But they've took that away from the casual owner that's got to wait for a sales day. It could be like 3 months away. So you've got 3 months training fees. So you're going to do in another 4.5, 5 grand
At least.
in between that period. And what's the horse worth?
Yeah.
Jesus. So like it's a tough game having no sols and claimers. So it's a good question, Hermes TFK. Yeah, I think the racing authority have missed many chances in the game to rescue racing, really, with the betting exchange. They could have had a hand in the bloodstock industry.
Yeah.
They could have had a percentage of everything. That if they'd have had the negotiators and the will to do
Well,
so.
if they had the vision, that's the point. We've made it innumerable
Exactly.
times. It's the vision. It's sort of bankrupt leadership, isn't it? There's been because you haven't got leadership, you haven't got a person with a vision. And someone with a vision, whether they be from the public sector or the private sector, most likely the private sector, would have seen the utility value for the industry in trying to aggregate all these disparate factions and sales houses, etc., and bring them under the British horse racing umbrella. But the fact is, haven't exhibited any leadership. This is why we've got loads of warring factions.
Before we come on to Agenda 2026, I'll just lead up into this by saying that the current set of fixture lists and the reason why the levy isn't working and can't fund the sport properly, the BHA have said this week they don't even know how or if they can fund it next year. They're not in a position to make that statement to say, yes, we can definitely afford next year. That shows you how bad racing is at the moment. And if it's not bad enough, Philip Newton of the CBA, the Bloodstock Association, has announced that foal crop is expected to be dropping by about 6% next year. So for this going forwards to create bigger fields, if the breeding industry isn't breeding and the numbers are dropping vastly, we can't sustain the current level of fixture list, John.
It's no surprise, though, is it? It's just looking increasingly like an industry in managed decline, although it's not being managed terribly well by the managers.
That. I like to come on to a bombshell then, been building up to this. Years ago, we predicted about the SCV and we said that this is what they got planned. We felt that the bookmakers were doing this on purpose to be able to extract your data, sell your data and make profit on your data, and also profit from being able to rinse customers on your data that you can afford to lose absolutely plenty if you're a wealthy person swinging the slot machine arm. This is the sort of next prediction that we don't like to have to time or sit on the fence because I think that's just shit, really, isn't it? That's the name of the game, to try and predict where we're going to be as a game. So Agenda 2026. Well, what's important about 2026, you might say? Well, first of all, it is the time of year where the media rights is up for renewal. I've had insider info as well as from industry contacts, as well as talking with other people about the subject. I can tell you now, the big corp are not going to renew the media rights contract. Certainly not in its current guise. It would have to be extremely cheap. Big corp pay 400 million a year into horse racing in terms of levy, in terms of media rights payments. Now, when you consider big corp can take bets on football, other sports betting, any sports betting, and not pay a bean to anyone, right? Other than what they sponsor, obviously in Premier League and stuff like that. How are big corp going to continue to fund a low margin game for them, which is a very low margin game in terms of profits wise? They don't make a lot of money from it, if at all. They're not interested in paying 400 million a year to the levy in terms of media rights and a levy agreement with the BHA. So when this all comes on top, things are going to get really bad. And when I say really bad, is that when that money pot, when they say no, the first thing that has to go are fixtures and tracks, because the tracks are dining off the fat media rights money. They don't care about attracting punters to the course or growing the sport properly. They care about what they're coming in the till at the moment. It's short-sightedness. And 2026 is going to see a lot of people, chaps, I'm afraid, in a lot of trouble. Not just us trying to bet, but certainly tracks in particular. I think many tracks we're going to see try and become housing estates from 2026. So, John and Chris, I'd like to get your thoughts on that sort of bombshell about the fact that they're not going to renew the media rights deal, and where you think racing will go, and then we'll have a discussion about it.
Blimey. It's mega, isn't it? I mean, John's probably, well, definitely better qualified to comment it. But all I would say from an outsider's point of view, or recreational punter, it kind of reinforces the view that the game's done in the UK, isn't it? They want us to bet overseas into sort of overseas pools, etc. That the domestic game, if it exists at all, and I'm sure it will be in a wildly different state to what it is now. And I think it'll be more akin to almost the point-to-point industry, a sort of a reasonably well-attended minority sport. I think racing status as elite sport, by virtue of what you've just said, where's it going to go? It's going to be relegated to just being a minority sport on which some bookmakers will offer odds, but not really part of their core business.
Yep, John, how do you see this sort of like refusal to pay the tracks money for their sort of video content, if you like?
This is what you get when you enter into a deal with the devil, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've always been so quick to side with Big Corp over everything else anyway. When they had the chance to go to war with them, they chose to go with the gross profits tax model.
Yep.
I think any meeting with the bookmakers where your representative's coming out saying they wish the deal had been set for longer means that you probably need to pull your pants up and check your back passage. I would imagine this sort of situation would lead to us losing 15 courses within 18 months of the beginning of the new contract. And I would also imagine the horse population dropped by about 40%.
We did say it would get like the ground game.
And that's exactly where it's heading. Exactly where it's heading.
And to be fair, if I work for Big Corp and I'm CEO of Flutter, and I'm thinking, right, I'm getting paid to run this company to the best it can be. I don't care about the BHA, I don't care about horse racing. Why would they pay £400 million a year for a product that don't make them any money?
They've got no reason to preserve racing. They could do away with racing completely and steer everyone towards slots.
Yeah.
There's no risk. It's a bigger profit margin. That's what they want.
Yeah.
These are my thoughts on this. Chris, to come back to you, racing's highest age demographic is male 55 plus that are interested in racing.
Yep.
Right? Which you have constantly argued on this show, despite other people saying we need young people in the sport. Constantly argued for the fact we need more 55 plus. We need more because they're the boomers. They're the ones with the house profits. They're sat on fortunes because they've nothing to do. They'll visit an abbey or a church or,
garden centre cafes on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, racing needs to tap into those people to give them adrenaline, bit of excitement, maybe ownership groups.
A day out as well. Day out.
A share in a horse, just 5%. You've seen these cheap race share things. I don't particularly like them, but at the end of the day, if it gets them racing and gets them into the sport and then posting photos on social media, again, this is all what it's about. And I'm so in agreement with you on this, and that's how it should have been from day one, not marketing for 80-year-olds to turn up as Peaky Blinders.
No, Well, you can see why the marketeers would, because it's the lazy and obvious thing to do. And, I'm not in disagreement with it as a longer term strategy to try and court, the next generation of racegoers. But those people will not become regular racegoers for another 20 years because they've got things like going to work, raising a family. They don't have the disposable income and, most importantly, the time available. That 55 kind of demographic is typically, either people who are either retired beyond that point, so they've got time on their hands and hopefully some money, or wealthy businessmen coming to the end of their careers who've got time and money. That's the sort of people you want to be courting as your regular bread and butter race goers and punters, not people that will just turn up for festival meetings and spend a load of money behind the bar on that, and you'll see them again maybe three months time. That's not going to save the sport, and I just don't understand why there's such an aversion to sort of targeting the grey pound. The National Trust crowd, the people that go on sort of fucking Viking cruises to the fjords, they're the sort of people that you want to be moving that money away from those kind of holidays and say, well, look, you can also have a great hobby and recreation here in the UK via racehorse ownership, and the type, stable visits, days out the races, and that will at least introduce them to the betting side of things. But they don't seem to want to do it because whether it's not sexy enough, you can't get Jermaine Januses and all those kind of people fronting it. So, they've kind of eschewed it. And I think that we're paying the price now.
It's a lack of vision, basically, from the sports leaders, really, on all fronts. And this is why, as a podcast, we like to do things ahead of time, because that's what you call vision. And so the prediction from me, so Agenda 2026, the word premierisation, we see it now as just like shoving the best meetings in the best window, supposedly, on a Saturday afternoon. No one takes it seriously. But they've got that word certainly into everyone's brains, if you like. Now, how I see it is quite simple, in that why has a very, very shrewd investor in the name of Alex Frost bought the tote for 120 million? Why would you buy into the tote in this day and age? What's looking at the moment as a dead duck? You've got Colossus Bets Bernard swimming around all this as well, so he can sniff what's happening. You don't get big investors spending that kind of money on a product where it's going to be a dead duck, right? So what's going to happen? These are the prediction. For me, bookmakers do not want to take bets on UK racing unless it's the big meetings. They'd stop it tomorrow, right? They really would. You've already seen signs of it when they're arguing with ARC about media rights payments and so forth and everything else, and where they refuse to price up certain meetings. So you're already seeing that. That's a warning sign. That's their thinking. When this media rights deal is ended, they're not going to take straight bets on normal UK racing. I don't think so. I think they'll get into bed with the tote, the whirlpool. They'll get a commission for taking the money from the whirlpool, because that's what they want, guaranteed money. No 400 million a year to racing, but they just want the guaranteed cash from the pools. You've basically got a demand in Asia for this product to bet on Premier English racing. We'd have to tell listeners the big meetings. We know what the big meetings are, what the Asians want to bet on. But the British public don't want whirlpool betting, but they want to leave it so that we've got basically no choice. The only choice you can bet on UK racing is whirlpool. I think the big books will only offer big meeting betting. So they won't take bets like Plumpton online anymore. You've got to go to the track. That's the only way you get a bet on. So you want to bet at Plumpton Monday afternoon, you've got to go, or send someone there that's down there to get you a bet on. That's the future. Good for on-course books. I think that'll thrive from 2026. But the tracks we're trying to survive will then squeeze the books for more money. Because if more punters are turning up to the tracks to bet, that's when they'll squeeze the books for more rent. And this is how life and the game works. It's a tough position to be in, but sadly, I predict that from maybe not just straight after 2026, but around that period just after, UK online bookmakers, Big Corp, will stop taking online bets on shit UK racing. Maybe ARC will have their own business model where they'll run their own flapping racing separate to the BHA and have their own betting service and their own media rights. It could go all ways. But believe me, from 2026, the world as we know it as British horse racing is completely over. And that's a fact, because there is absolutely zero chance they will renew that media rights contract. Chaps, thoughts on that monologue?
Can't argue with any of it.
No, absolutely spot on. As we've said, the game is done. You know, in the way that we are talking about it today, that's finished. It's gone. That you know, it will exist in some form, as you said, there are various permutations and iterations, but the game as we know it now is finished. It's over.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There could be something really special appearing on the black market that actually pays out, is reliable, like an exchange, something might happen. That's what I'm saying. It just takes brains, ideas, and general trust with the provider that you know, but that takes a lot of building trust to be able to say, right, we're not going to.
But it's a huge opportunity for anybody or any businessmen that are legit and have got a lot of money behind them to really clean up. You know, it's a massive opportunity. It really is. And, you know, yes, the risk is always that you're dealing with, you know, bad faith actors, etc. But you know, if you can get a legitimate business involved or a legitimate business behind one of these, in quotes, black market operators, they will clean up. Absolutely clean up.
Yeah, totally agree with that. John, anything further to add?
No, I think we've painted a bleak enough picture.
Never mind, Harry Seacombe's on in half hour. Cheer us all up.
Before, before you slit your wrist, I mean, we do have some funnies to end the show later.
Those were the funnies, weren't they? That was it.
Yeah.
Thanks and good night.
Can I ask you lads a question now?
Sure.
What constitutes a Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's a good. I know where you're going with this. That is a good question, isn't it?
I was coming to that in a second. The John's questions round. Obviously, Jack Berry has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Go Racing in Yorkshire's very special Charlotte Russell has chimed into the debate and said he should be. He does outstanding work, etc. with that project, and I have absolutely no doubt.
No.
But it's the Hall of Fame for people that.
I looked up the definition of the Hall of Fame, and I got two kind of definitions. One said a structure housing memorials to famous or illustrious individuals, usually chosen by a group of electors, or a group of individuals in a particular category, such as a sport, who have been selected as particularly illustrious. Well, with the best will in the world, I don't think Jack Berry, racehorse trainer, is a Hall of Famer.
No, not in terms of training racehorses.
By all means, you know, give him a knighthood for his work with the Indian Jockeys Fund and Jack Berry House. God knows he probably deserves it, you know. If there's a Hall of Fame for charity work, he can go in with Bob Geldof, and I mean, Terry Ramsden would have probably gone in there for all the money he gave to Bliss when he was flying. But to me, putting him in the Hall of Fame sort of opens it up to basically letting anyone in, irrespective of performance.
Even us. Do you reckon? Do you reckon we'll get a nomination?
I think we'd probably be the last people on earth to get nominated. There'll be people who have absolutely nothing to do with it that would be.
Yeah, the Moors murderers would get ahead of us, I think, wouldn't they? Yeah, fucking Ian Brady would be terrible.
Regarding Jack Berry, this fellow was a legendary trainer of 2-year-olds from April to June. Let's not forget that. You know, there won't be much on him, but like they'd be trained with a minute of the life. He'd be getting them to ping from stalls. I mean, that was the art. He knew that, like, he was facing trainers that probably have got a bit more like special blue blood types that are a bit behind the door, carrying condition. And all Jack Berry did, right, get out the traps and away you go.
John Carroll used to ride him, didn't he? That was him.
That's right.
Yeah,
just get on the bunny.
He pioneered that, didn't he? And then sort of Richard Hannon did it for a few seasons, didn't he? For, you know, basically winning with really early types. But that was, and you look, he made the very best of what he was given, because that's the sort of owners he had, and he racked up sequences. But, you know, not really particularly illustrious as far as training racehorses, because I think that's a bit of a miss, to be honest. But yeah, for charity work, 100%.
Going through some other of John's sort of like add-ins. Ladcrooks, Constitution Hill, bullshit bet. I can't believe we're talking Cheltenham already. John, you
Ugh.
fucker. You
Oh.
fucker. You fucker.
Unbelievable.
But James Knight has said that obviously he works for Entain.
Yeah.
He says the bet is real. But
I think it probably is. I think it probably is a bet. I mean, I don't know who it's from, but it's going to be one of the big owners in the yard.
It's a wagon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there is a bet. I mean, the significance of it, I don't know. It's part of the PR campaign that Henderson's seem to be running now, so I think it's carefully orchestrated. But I think a significant wager was struck. But what that tells us, who knows?
I think, to be honest, I believe my snouts, which are the horse has got wind issues, or did
Right.
certainly did last year.
Hasn't had them corrected then? No, hasn't had anything done on the QT. Do we know?
I've not heard of anything since.
Right.
But I know for a fact that after the fighting, I think it turned up at fighting fifth last year.
No, there's a wind up being recorded, isn't there?
Is it being recorded?
Right.
Yeah, I got told this last autumn that the horse was whistling.
Yeah. That's a gap in my teeth.
Like one of them old kettles, like.
Fucking, yeah.
Yeah.
That bloke chewing the fat with the dentures that whistled then.
Yes, quite.
Yeah, what at Gurners?
You should go in
the horse collar.
for some icy sausages.
Yeah.
It's not for you yet, Chris, being a Gurner.
Well, I've got one of those horse collars, they used to put around the neck and pull horrible faces. Yeah. I don't even pull the horrible face. It's just natural. I think I'm 101 to win one of those, I think.
Well, it doesn't actually say anything on the horse's record about wind surgery on the racing post. When you pull his record up, there's nothing there. I could have sworn there was something about him having had wind surgery.
Well, maybe they haven't. They haven't reported it. That's why they're so bullish. How about that?
Well, it was nothing to do with legs or injuries or tendons. It was just purely wind. It were just cutting out at the end of the gallops. So why anyone would have a massive bet with that on the back of your mind? Good luck with that. I don't know if someone's just got too much money or propaganda. But
will they be allowed to deposit if they use all the tank up, or will that trigger it?
I was going to say the next question to James Knight would be like, if it's a very, very big bet, presumably the person must have like about 4 billion in bank, provided affordability checks. Because
could be though, couldn't it? It could be one of the very, very high profile owners that's had lunch with Nicky.
Or it could be Lord Ali paying for bet for him.
Exactly, watching all that dough. Yeah. It could be that, couldn't it? Someone's gone in, picked the phone up, get me 100 grand on this. Well, yes, certainly, sir. I mean, it could just be that. I mean, perfectly legit. But what it tells us, fuck knows.
Ring Lord Ali in the morning. I need some new boxes.
I'd be like Rain Man, Kmart boxer shorts.
Yes.
I'd be Rain Man, dusted off. Definitely. Lord Ali would be like rubbing his hands because he'd be thinking, well, I'm not paying fucking Harrods prices for Kia.
Yeah, well, he'd be rubbing something.
He'd think he was going to get to see you trying the boxes on as
well.
Ooh,
fucking hell. Gruesome.
It is indeed. Oh, God. Oh, mental images. John always does.
You only watch it once.
Yeah. I'm annoyed at my counterparts. Like, Cheltenham talk should be banned. I don't give a shit about these fucking changes. I'm not interested.
No,
it's
couldn't care less.
Could not give a shit. Why are we all talking about it? We haven't even got to Cesarovic, John.
No, it's disgusting.
What are we doing?
It's rubbish, isn't it? It's classic, but it's the twig hoppers, isn't it? They're very very powerful on social media.
John's knacker. I'm not talking about Cheltenham. Fuck off.
Nah, bollocks, Cheltenham. Yeah. Stick it up your arse.
I've even got a question from Stephen Thomas on Cheltenham, and he can fuck off.
Yeah, Bill council houses on it. I'd say
he was a member there for 30 years, and he just says he doubt he'll ever return to the Fez. He doesn't like the Fez. To Stephen Thomas, good listener, Stephen.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Question from Keith Watson, the Kent Chopper.
Mm.
Who doesn't like a Kent Chopper? Burn is sponsored by Bookies. Is it acceptable? Liar Skelton is sponsored by Ladbrokes. What do they get out of it? A share of George Gently. How dare that bloke be interviewed at RE Cheltenham Changes? He's more front than Trump. John.
It looks a bit like Trump, doesn't it, at distance?
George Gently, is that the geezer's name? Is that the geezer's real name?
No, it's a horse.
Oh, because that was a detective series that was set in the war, John. Inspector Gently, wasn't it? With what's his name? Fucking the bloke played Judge John Deed, Martin, whatever his name was. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always
Yeah,
confusing. Foyle's
Martin
War with
Shields.
last week, you see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So coming on to the subject, everyone's taking the bookmaker pound. Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone, media, the lot.
Yeah.
Well,
They're all
it's
having it.
straight around, and it's like the Labour Party taking bugs left, right, and centre,
The
isn't it?
fall
You
of
know,
Rome,
I mean, you
isn't
know
it?
what's coming.
The lot, the entire lot are taking bookmaker shillings. The
Yeah.
lot of them.
All of them, yeah. Every fucking one. Nick Luck, Paul Keeley, all sitting on William Hill podcast, tipping up fucking favs. All the same. They can't help themselves, can they?
It's amazing.
The only people not getting the bung are us.
I
Yeah,
know.
where's our fucking bookmaker money? That's what I want to know.
I've turned down two, you know.
Oh, yeah, I know. You it reminded me again. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just, you know.
Yeah, terrible. Ooh, it's
You
ruined
know.
everything now.
I know. There's no cash. There's
No,
nothing.
nothing. Just love.
No, just love for the channel
Yes,
from
quite.
punters.
Mm,
Yeah. Anyway, Sam the Cat.
Yeah.
Has been on again, and it's a finishing question.
Yes.
What with P Diddy's freak off parties?
Yeah.
Being in the news. What's a freak off party, Chris?
Well, I believe it's something with a heavy sexual content. It's quite sort of low on the old fucking trifle and fairy cakes, and big on the fairies, I think.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Angel Delight and
Yeah, me too. Yeah, instant whip. Yeah. Butterscotch flavour.
Yeah, which
Lovely.
There's probably some of that knocking about.
might be smeared on certain.
Oh
things.
Christ! Yeah. Horrible that is. I can't understand how people get turned on by fucking food and sex. Oh, it's awful.
I know.
Smeared is a terrible word in that.
All that shit. Yeah, and laughter is also people having fun. Laughter is the enemy of sexual desire. I think people say having fun.
How does anyone get turned on by scat?
Oh,
I mean,
fucking filth and a dirty bastard. Fucking Weimar Republic. It's disgusting fucking animals. Well, not even animals wouldn't do that. People are fucking garbage, aren't they?
So, coming on to...
You'd have to take Seneca, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't want to be grunting.
Fuck, yeah, hang on a minute. Fucking turtle's head's popping out. Wait a minute. Yeah, ooh.
Oh, no. Oh, good God. Oh.
Oh, Christ. Yeah. My ass is like a Marmite pot. It's incapable of being wiped clean. It's fucking... I think I'm going to go to the British Medical Journal. I think I'm a fucking medical miracle, actually. Anyone who wants to go up there is welcome, I promise you.
Well, my belly...
Well, I think we've cracked it with a subject AK bets, won't we, covering in there?
Yeah.
Don't be so sure.
My belly's that rotund.
Yes.
That, like, if someone did a log on my belly, it'd just roll off.
Fucking... It'd have to be a big one, wouldn't it?
You'd just be betting left or right.
Yeah, be like King Kong's finger, wouldn't it, to stay on that? Fucking hell.
Might just roll down towards your head, Lee, and lodge in
no.
It'll be overtime at the sewage farm, wouldn't it? Get the big knives out for fucking fellas. There's overtime, yeah.
Anyone that's into that, honestly, if you're listening, you're into that.
Yeah, you fucking fuck off, yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah, stop listening.
We'll have no fucking listeners.
Yeah. So the question is, has any of the bastards ever been or known any of their pals that's frequented a different type of club or party venue back in the day, i.e. a local grabber granny club or something stranger where different stuff went on?
Well, I used to work with a Satanist, a bloke who was a bona fide practicing Satanist. Now, there are apparently different sort of species, I think that's probably not the right word, of Satanists. There's a sort of theistic Satanists who worship the god, Satan, and there's sort of rational Satanists that sort of argue that, in fact, that Satanism, it's a, what's the word, not so much an agnostic type religion, but it's a kind of a personal philosophy where you kind of, you put your kind of sort of self above everybody else. But this bloke was into the fucking theistic Satanism. He used to go to like covens in Woodland near Salisbury Plain and all that sort of stuff. He's a really nice bloke, but fucking weird. But yeah, he was a practicing Satanist. 100%. Yeah, he used to like all these fucking little villages in Salisbury. There used to be like the postmaster was actually also the local warlock, and they used to have all these mad sort of ceremonies. He used to tell me where they used to kind of I don't know, worship Hitler or whatever. It's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. But he's a really nice guy, but fucking weird. You could tell he was weird just by looking at him. He sort of exuded a weird aura. But yeah, he was banging to all that.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, totally flat out Satanist, a flat out one. And he used to he just looked odd. Do you know what I mean? He's not nothing he particularly said, but he got talking, yeah, I'm well into doing it for years and all that kind of stuff. He tried to get me involved in it. I thought, fuck off. Honestly, they wouldn't have me in a satanic temple, that's for sure. I'd have to fucking silver before the backs were turned, I promise you. But making good my escape.
John, I mean, you know a few Hitlers in your life, so there must be some kind of...
None of them get worshipped. I'm just trying to think. I mean, we've gone from scatology to worshipping Hitler.
Yeah.
There's not many races that cover that kind of material.
There might be a bit of crossover, who knows?
I mean, the only sort of party or club would even approach that level of debauchery, I would have thought, would have been Bob.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, just about to say that. That would be closest. The fall of Rome, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Christ.
Do you know, in my early lifetime,
yeah,
I was always fascinated by nightclubs and stuff. They used to do over 25 nights.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Over 25. Of course, yeah.
But
Still
there were no ID back in. No one bothered asking. So I used to go in just for like a look, and over 25s, you think, well, they'd be mostly like, I don't know, 30s or whatever. They'd be like 50-year-olds in there swinging their handbags. Well, it's over 25, technically right. But I found that fascinating because it's like, obviously, if you're divorced or you're single, like you get up pensioners going in or close to the weirdest nights ever. But I was kind of fixated and fascinated by it because I just used to people watch. Like I used to go in and people watch. I went in the over 25 nights to people watch. That's a confession.
You used to get all these old dudes with like sort of Limahl from Kajagoogoo's haircuts. These fucking geezers in their 60s and 70s, these ludicrous sort of hairdos, probably hair pieces glued onto within an inch of its life. And and he used to have the old gold medallions, and it was sort of a cliche from the 70s, disco man. But you used to get these old dudes that used to dress like out of sort of 70s porno films. Bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
it was a bizarre crowd.
Yeah.
Honestly, when they said over 25s, I would say the average age was probably 45.
Our age, like 50 odd, yeah.
Like now, it really was. Probably birds that have been divorced and stuff and looking for a bit of new crop.
Yeah.
But this is before you got Tinder now, and you got all the apps and the shit. And
they're all online. They're sort of specialist websites for older people. But in those days, I guess that was it, really, wasn't it?
You went to over 25s and you swung your handbag and you put your best on, kind of thing.
Your best white suit on, yeah.
You did with that. There's some people that turn up like suited and booted, and it was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. The old patent leather shoes and all that, so you can look up bird skirts with the old, highly polished toe caps. Yeah. All
the old days.
Yeah, happy times, yeah.
John, anything to add on that?
Only that you could always spot the desperate blokes at the working men's club on New Year's Day that I used to frequent. They used to have a comedian on and about 4 strippers. And the desperate.
But they have a meat draw. You've got to have a meat draw, surely.
Meat raffle.
The desperate bloke always turned up in the best suits as though they were going to actually attempt to pull the strippers.
Yeah, turn up in a 30 grand car, but sitting at home on orange boxes. Yeah, but beautiful suit. Yeah.
John, did he stink strongly of cologne?
Full space.
Yeah. High karate or denim. Yeah.
They were excellent adverts.
Oh, tremendous advert denim one with the oh my god. Yeah.
That's what went off, didn't it? Yeah. On that note.
On that bombshell.
Yeah, you see, we do it. We can mix the serious business of doom and gloom
with shit, and devil worship,
and humour, and a quick switch to devil worship and humour. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed it, chaps. Me, John, and Chris certainly did, and we're back on Sunday as always for more fun. But if you want to join Bar Stewards Patreon,
get your money out.
Get your money out because we're doing an art preview this weekend it's an art weekend with lots of big racing, and that'll be out on Friday night. It's only like £9.
Yeah, fuck all.
get your money out and join us on Friday night. It's free to air Saturday morning.
Yeah.
We've got Charles Aznavour and Marcel Marceau.
Yeah, we're digging them both up. We're digging them both up special. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, that's all from us. Bye for now.